Alright, not sure how much detail we need to go into since we've kind of documented installing these from Matco, but the most important thing you might do here is in fact pull whatever it is you put in the porch, whether you tape them, whether you put paper towels, shop rags, socks, whatever, get that stuff out of there. That would be really, really bad. So like I said, possibly the most important step is the first step, assuming you took preventative measures and actually blocked the ports off. So let's go ahead, we'll do that, and we'll start over here on the driver's side. Oh yeah, all I've got invested in that is like 10 minutes. I probably spent like 8 or so trying to get everything cleared, not take the coating off as best I could. And the rest of the time was just starting the bolts. The only thing is, the reason this side's not done in torque to spec, I dropped a bolt last night. My nephew was wanting to play Madden, so I kind of prioritized that, and I cannot for the life of me find it at all. And if you recall, I kind of upgraded stainless. I don't have 5/16 stainless stuff sitting around. It's somewhere, I just don't know where. So I think what I'm going to do here, I've got dinner in the oven, quite literally. And I'm just trying to make use of my little 13-minute segments here. So I'm either going to look for the bolt or throw the passenger side on. So again, there's our driver's side, passenger side we hadn't started with because it's down here. So there she is. This is the last time I can kind of showcase these things. And we're going to do it again for all the time and money we've had to invest in these things. But yeah, I may just go ahead and wedge this one down in there too. The coolest thing though, I'm not going to take it under the truck just yet. I was very worried about, you know, when it got blasted, you know, what the metal would have done. It would have kind of got back in shape or, you know, rounded back type of a thing. Nothing's torqued, but it looks like I'm going to clear. So what we did with all of our little breaker bars and pry bars, it looks like it's going to hold. So don't want to jinx it, but right now it's looking good. That's subject to change. But I think I'll just start ripping everything out. Again, most important thing, tape, rags, whatever you did, get it out of the ports. I'll do that. I'll drop this one in on the passenger side. We'll go ahead and get those bolts started. And then I'll probably go eat chicken dinner. Alright, so coming back somewhere we haven't been in a while, it's the interior of the truck. You think like, hey, yeah, I thought you needed to deal with O2 sensors in the exhaust. Well, we do. And the issue that we've got is the front O2 sensor. In this case, our pace setter headers right kind of where we're at, probably right above that creeper. Where the collector comes down, you've got an O2 bung. That is going to be for your primary main O2 sensor. The downstream we don't even have to worry about anymore. If you're curious what that did, it essentially just made sure the catalytic converter was functioning. So we can just tie it up, it'll sense oxygen there. Home free on that front should be. If you want to put it in the exhaust, you can do that. We may very well put a bung on there later, who knows. But what I do know right now is that the front one is a problem. And if I take you out over here, I can kind of showcase it. Bear with me here. There's the fruits of our labor from last night. Oh yeah, a very nice little aesthetic there. But if I take you over here, we have our two new NTK O2 sensors. And then if I set my gloves off to the side, get the dirty rags out, right here, I've labeled this from when we removed it. This was the factory O2 rear downstream sensor. And the thing is, it's off with the plug, right? It's all intact. It's got the nice braiding, everything intact. It's just like you'd have from the factory. Here's the issue. I'm going to try to... The Braun light is basically dead. The Astro is on the other side. Maybe, just maybe, I can pull my phone out of my pocket and get you down here. This is all real time, you know. Fancy stuff that we do. Don't hit my head. Alright, so it's actually bright enough from our outdoor lighting. This is our collector on the passenger side. This piece that's making noise, that's our bung. If you look right here, the thing dangling, if you got a good eye, is our factory O2 sensor. And you're like, dude, it's out. What's the problem? Well, aside from the fact that it is very dirty, we'll get you a comparison to the new ones when we open them, it would thread right in. We'd totally be home free. And if you're like, well, hey, you know, why is it still dangling there? And then if we come back here, where is the rear O2 sensor plug? It's right up there. So this little plug here would be where your rear O2 sensor plugs into, right? cool stuff. And you're thinking like, well, hey, disconnect the front one, which again is right here. Had I have known I could just film the whole thing from back here, totally would have done it. But the issue that we've got is the clip that we need to access that would look probably just like this, maybe a different connector so you don't cross them, is literally on the top of the transmission. And if you think, well, hey, take it down, well, it's got a clip, and I think some cable ties, and all kinds of crud that holds it literally at the top of the tunnel. And this is probably the best you can see the top of the tunnel from here. I can feel the plug, don't get me wrong. If you chase, just grab this braid and run your fingers up it, you eventually get to the plug. The issue is I can only get one hand up there. I need two, because of course this is going to be a plug with a lock, all that safety stuff, so you'd have to pull a lock, press down and pull, and that's like insanely hard to do with one hand. And I can tell you right now, these are the factory O2 sensors. These have never been changed, never been touched. I'm the only one that services this truck, and I never change them, never needed to. So what that means is that's got 20 plus years of just sitting there. Grease, grime, gunk, dust, whatever, it's all there, it's all covered, and it's going to complicate our lives severely. So what I'm going to try to do is go back inside the truck, and I want to try and see if you pay attention to where that is. I'm going to wheel over here, right into a jack stand, I think. No, it's the other creeper. Right there, you're looking at some stuff that goes up into the cab, okay? And there's some screws coming out. I can't really touch them, but if I zoom in, that stuff. And she's not, well, see the golden rod? Okay, there's hardware up there coming through the floor, just trust me. I am wondering if we pull the boot for our four-wheel drive shifter, if we can actually access the plug from inside the truck. Think of it as like a van maneuver, right? You got your floor pan over the engine type of thing. You can lift it, screw with the distributor carburetor. That's what I'm going to try to do with the O2 sensor plug. No clue if it's going to work. It could backfire. It could be hideously bad, but we're going to give it a go. The other thing while I'm down here, we still never brought the wire up for our backup camera, and I'm not sure where we're going to wind up going. I would love to come in on this side. These holes you see here for the rocker sill screws, there's like no holes here, which is great. I mean, the bed's sealed really good, the cab is anyway, but that's something I'll be trying to figure out while I'm down here. But yeah, we're going to be playing around up there. It's greasy, it's grimy, it's nasty, it's super awkward. It's easy to do if you had access to it, but you don't have access, and that's the problem. So I'll start dismantling it in the cab and see if we can make it happen. If not, I will be under here struggling with it. So wish me well. Alright, so while I'm literally nearly falling on the creeper, I had one hand in here and I was able to just pop this thing out. So literally just like that. It looks like there's a, I think you can see this. I need to go get my old Astro over there, the one that we've charged up for the first time ever. Just clips, I guess 2 on this side, sort of right on the sides of the shifter knob. 1 at the front, 1 at the back. I assume it's replicated on the other side with 2 roughly in this position. So this should, oh boy, just got my hands greasy enough. I guess I was gonna say that should just thread off. It may or may not. Don't pay any attention to my little temporary ground there that I'll try to get out of the way, but I'm gonna move this stuff. That's, I've just left these here. I've had to use them a lot, and I just always, you know, they're in the truck. So I'm gonna get those out of my way. I might throw them in the Master Tech, actually. Seems like a good pairing for them because I have space in the bottom. But we're going to get that out, and then I'm going to look down in there with you, and we're going to see if we think we can access that plug. Because if we can, oh, our lives just got so much easier. Alright, so not pictured is the 20 minutes I just spent degreasing the back of the transfer case. Why? Because I was down there, it was dirty, and it bothered me. So, coming back up here, I did check the owner's manual, or the service manual I should say, the Chilton's one, and I was hoping it would say like, for easy access, go through here. No dice. Looking at this, I don't think it's going to happen, but if I take you up here, there are 2 fasteners. Kind of see this deal? I think that's a fixed stud. There's another one up here. I think those might drop a boot that's located on the, you know, like bottom side of the floor pan, basically underneath the truck. I think between having that off, you might have access. I really don't know, but I figure it's worth a shot. So the fasteners in here that you kind of see my traffic finger going up and down over right there, I think these are 8mm, and there's going to be, man, this is hard to do by yourself. If you see everywhere there's plastic tabs, okay, and then the silver fasteners, that's what I'm after. I think there's 3 of them, and I can't really film myself getting them out that easy, so can't see it at all now. Again, I'm pretty sure it's 8mm, so I'm gonna try to crawl up in the truck and get this taken care of where I can actually see what I'm doing. Might be able to spring one out for us. I'm doing this totally blind, by the way, just by feel. So I think the ratchet's working because we hear the ratchet action, but it seems like there's probably an insulation pad under this based on the resistance of the screw. It's not just like a sheet metal screw through metal. So I want to avoid dropping it if at all possible. Try to finish her off by hand. Boom, shakalaka. So right there, it is 8mm, otherwise it would not have come out. Again, I think there's 3. We're going to get those. That should remove this plastic piece. I think I'm also going to go ahead and try to just turn this off, the knob. I need like a shop rag or something so I can get a good grip, but I'll do that, and then we'll have this side taken care of. Alright, this is where it would be nice to have kids or a wife or girlfriend or somebody that could fit in these places, but alas, I'm solo, so 3 screws totally out, as well as junk that I had. Air pressure gauge, 2 of them apparently. Knife, little things like that I have in the shift boot there. But if I get the Astro over where you can actually see it, stuck to pliers, so that'll be a nice counterweight. You can see we've got this free. Now, what I'm talking about on the downside, this fastener here and this fastener here, they just look like studs, painted studs, right? I want to say there's nuts on the downside. No clue what size they are. We're going to go try to figure it out. Maybe 15s or 13s or 10s. Some metric junk, most likely. I think that might drop this whole thing out, or part of it. Currently, we have not done ourselves any favors. I'll leave this in place. I'll get down there. We'll try to see what we're working with. And hopefully it gives us an opening, because otherwise it's going to just take forever to attempt to get the clip off, back on, and not break anything. That was killing my knee. I was right on the rocker sill, but this is the counterweight I was talking about. The magnet stuck to the pair of pliers. It's just enough weight to let me dangle it that far off without falling forward. So sometimes it's the little things. So why are we here, you ask? Well, disappointments. If I had the base like 8 to 19 or whatever Koken does or anyone does, 3/8 drive sockets on one of these magnetic rails, it would just be the bee's knees. I felt like that was probably a 13. That's what it turned out to be. Wasn't sure. I felt like 10 would be the most obvious, even though, you know, I hadn't been down there, and I grabbed the 10 and the 13. Sure enough, 10 was too small, 13 it was. So if I had one of these though, man, it's so much nicer to just throw this in the tray, or stick it under the vehicle in this case, since you got something magnetic, than it is to freehand it and throw loose sockets around. But had the Matco down there. That's how I found out it was 13. It was not wanting to work with the mid extension I had. And so I've got the foam tray over there. I'm thinking I'm going to have to relocate that to the service cart, because I just constantly grab these ones that I have in the cart, and it'd be better to have the foam tray here. But that is our long Koken flex head, and then I've cobbled 3 extensions together with the surface drive. I think that will let us run all the way down below the transmission pan, the cross members, everything, and have clearance. If not, I'll just grab another extension. I can tell you right now, that's 3 extensions and the socket. It's surprisingly strong. The way Koken structured those, like it's legitimately could pass for solid. If you didn't know any better. Also, that's their longer flex head. It's a flex head because even though this is the Matco flex head, it doesn't do that very well because it's stuck in that position. So I'm going to take you down here one more time. You got to be careful. you don't want to roll your back over either one of those setups. But right there, we got the Astro fully charged. Man, that thing has been awesome. That's the only time it's been charged since I've had it, and I've almost used it exclusively. Not done back here. Hopefully you remember this from the start of the video. It was a little dark, but it was filthy. It was super nasty, and it's not anymore. So we've cleaned that up. Not quite done. Right up there, though, I think you can see it now better with the Astro. Just focused on it. That's what I'm after. It's going to be that guy right there. I'm not quite sure what that goes to. I haven't been on the driver's side, so that's kind of good to know, but I'm hoping that that lets us drop down the entire setup there. Oh. And if we come over here, this is really tight quarters, but again, that's what I'm after. The reason I cobbled those 3 extensions together, I think, I'm going to try to, I can't get my hand up in there and show you what I want, but you see my finger there? Okay, if I get the extension on that right there, I can drop down between this front drive shaft, kind of in that crevice right there, and I think I'll be able to get to town. It has to be long, though, because we've got the headers, the transmission pan, the drive shaft, and of course, the skid plate, since we're in off-road. So I'm going to go ahead and see what fits, get the camera to safety, and I will let you know. Again, if we had somebody that we could bum into filming, we could do a really good job, but I'm just a solo little guy here, so that's what we'll be doing. But yeah, like I said, sometimes you just got to stop and clean a transfer case. Alright, I know it's dark in here, but this little guy was located here. There's kind of I've got the Astro light down there. So this is a painted fastener, very hard to see. The other 2 are on the back side here. I've gotten under the truck with screwdrivers trying to see if that was like gasketed and it's just like super tight and it's been there and sealed really well, if it was silicone or what. Can't exactly tell, but I was able to get one of the pry drivers in on the flip side. So I'm gonna come in, I can't film it, but there's, you know, the angled fasteners basically here and here from the driver's side tunnel shooting down into the transmission tunnel. I'm assuming they're going to be 8s as well. That's what they look like based on the threads coming out, and we're going to see if we can drop that down somehow. Also, I went ahead, got this out. It'll be impossible, well, I guess you could screw it up, but the way it is, there's like a contour to it. Tall side on the back, short side on the front, and then you're going to have these 3 unique mounting points. So, I mean, theoretically, the only way you could flip it in correctly is this way, and I don't believe anything would line up. So as long as you line that up, you shouldn't reinstall that incorrectly. But I'm going to, again, try to get those angled fasteners out and see if we can drop that boot down. Does that look a little different to you? Well, it should, because that's a 10mm head. Why, on God's green earth, we would put the 10mm angled down on the other side, totally obscured by the carpet instead of on the top side, is beyond me. It makes sense to me to have the 8mm in the limited access area and the 10s where you can easily get to them. But hey, I'm no engineer. I'm just the guy that solves their problems. So here we are. I've got this one out, broke it free with a little Stavilla there, and then used the Vera. To get a ratchet in there, you've either got to pull the carpet all the way back. I mean, at that point in time, we're probably getting into like pulling the seats and the center console type of back. Maybe it would go around it, I don't know. I tried a strap wrench on the shift knob. I couldn't get it to go. My hands are just, I guess, too dirty or something. But anyway, I'm going to get that other one out. My nephew's kind of wanting to play Madden. I've not eaten anything, so I'm going to see if I can get that, see if I can drop it down and at least know if this works or not. Because otherwise, we've wasted this entire night. Alright, this light just doesn't really work well for this, but I'm going to try to showcase things to you. We've got the one out. If I lift up on that, you can see, hopefully, trace where my thumb is. Watch my thumb go away. That's the head of the fastener there. I can't make the camera focus any better with both hands occupied. But if I zoom in and lift, it's right there. So again, thumb, trace it, that's the head of the fastener. If you had someone to hold the carpet, it'd be way easier, but I don't. I've been in here with a dash with no airflow, and quite frankly, I don't want to film anymore. I just want to get that bolt out. It's very important that you do as I say, not as I do, because this was a total waste of time. There's absolutely, I thought there was a panel there that would lift out and there'd be this like massive hole cut, and there's not. The hole is basically just the perfect size for your shifter. This entire thing here, if I can press it up, is now going to be like stupid difficult. This linkage in front of my thumb, like I've got to get all that back up there in place, and this was a complete and total fail. So looking at the top, and I can push these studs, like this part was correct, like I can take that top plate off. The problem is this boot occluded what I thought would have been like a wide opening where we could have gotten our hand down in here to the top of the transmission. That's not going to happen. Like I said, I had been told, I cannot for the life of me, I don't know if it was like some old guy or on a forum thread back in the day, but there was a story you could go through the shift boot on your four-wheel drive. Was not, you know, like if you had a 5-speed, it was specifically the shift boot for your four-wheel drive. And I don't know, this is an 01, maybe like 97 and back. I don't know, but 2001, this ain't happening at all, and I wish I would have known that, because we wasted all that time to basically accomplish nothing. So yeah, it's a decent hole there. If you wanted to like take the linkage off and drop that down, you could probably slide like long needle nose pliers and grab a wiring connector, but you're not going to have enough slack in the factory wiring to pull it through there and do anything from the cab. So yeah, that's a total waste of time. Do not do it. Do not try it. Yeah, just kind of at a loss for words there, so I'll try to get you some different lighting angles and stuff, but there it is. You know, I thought, like I said, if there was a hole the size of that top plate that must be their adapter bracket, we totally could have gotten up in there, right above that like green inspection mark on the transmission boss. We totally could have had access to that. That's what I was thinking was going to happen. I thought maybe we'd have to cut a cable tie and like lift up on the connector, but it'd be super easy. Nope, totally not the case. So now I've got to painstakingly put this thing back together. I think the course of action that'll be easiest if I can hold it in place, which I don't even know if I can. I'm going to try to, I guess, do it from the bottom, because I'll have to support this whole apparatus now. And so I'll run that up, try to get one of those like 13 millimeters on there, and then we'll just kind of reverse engineer it from there. We'll waste a ton of time, and we'll basically just start fishing around on the top side of the transmission. So I might order some extensions, and then I only have to do that once. And in the future, we can just have it super simple like it should be. So why the factory came in with this guy right here, you know, like the rear, the Downstream one, it's easy to get to that connector. It's right here ready to go for you. I know you can't see that too well, but the tan nasty colored clip. And then this guy, it just snakes up there and you just don't have access to it. So it's a total buzzkill and a waste of my time. So don't do what I just did, and you'll be you know, an hour or so ahead of the game here. So yeah, I'm gonna start putting this back together, and we'll pick up where we never really started. So stay tuned for that. All right, so here we are. I got two little items here. Might use one, might use both. Don't really know right now. I'm not sure that they fit, but I hope they do. These are both from Casper's Electronics. You might remember them from back in the day. Basically, they make O2 sensor extension harnesses. And that's what we have. We have got part number 109209, which I believe is the 12-inch. And then we've got 109210, which is 24-inch. The plan here, it is such a conceivably impossible reach to get to the front O2 sensor, the Upstream, whatever you want to refer to it as. I want to run an extension, and we're probably going to roll with a 12-inch there. Plus, I don't think the 12 would be long enough to get the Downstream into place, or you know, we might have to use it with our AEM one for data logging and everything. But if I can just plug this in, it will allow me to then be able to access, you know, should we ever need to replace the front O2 sensor again, it'll be easy instead of difficult. Previously, we tried to go through the cab, go through the four-wheel drive shift boot. That doesn't happen. I don't know when it changed, but again, my truck's an 01, so conceivably 98 might have switched over. Not 100% sure. Some of you, if you've done that, let me know if you had a wide open hole like on an early Ram, or if you got a late second gen like me and it's just totally closed off with steel. So that was a waste of time, and subsequently what I'm doing, we'll just go about it the old-fashioned way. I can get a hand on top of the transmission and sort of feel, but I can't see anything. And so I'm going to try to go about it the old-fashioned way, where we just like start pulling wires down out of the way, out of clips, through cable ties, whatever we have to do to sort of access and see what we're working on, or at least feel it to the point that we can switch locks and depress what we need to. So if these fit, they will come in quite nicely. I believe that they will. I don't know for sure, but I think this is the one that you're going to see me throw under the truck. And instead of having to come over here and film it at that point in time, I just thought I'd introduce it now. So at this point, I'm going to take you under the truck and kind of show you what is going on. All right, if you think right here you see the tail end of a Koken ratchet, you do. If we zoom in, where is it going? It's going up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to snake my hand in, pull this guy off, so you kind of see what I'm doing. Right where this came off, if you can sort of see, I've focused on it as best I can. I guess I'm going to need to get a light for you, sort of more on it. Alright, see that bolt? It's the only, there's a bolt towards the bottom, but there's also one towards the top. You'll have to bear with me, I'm a one-man show, and I need a magnet. There we go. Okay, so let me focus it for you. There's a bolt here. Don't worry about that. We're worried about this one, where my finger's at. There at the top. There's a lot of convoluted tubing. There's some wire holders, some looms, a cable tie holder. I'm going to take that out. I assumed it would be metric. I started with 13. It was too big. I thought, well, it must be a 10. That didn't fit. So I said, well, if it's old school, what would it be? And I thought it's probably quarter, so I grabbed a 7/16 socket. That's what seems to fit. So I'm going to break that loose, and there's essentially a point to this side where there's a clip installed with a cable tie, and there's a wire holder at the top. We are after this braided, the real fancy heat-proof one. That's our down front Upstream O2 sensor, and it goes all the way. It's literally like right in the middle of the transmission, which is why that four-wheel drive shift boot would have been awesome if it worked. So I'm going to take that bolt out, and we're going to see if we can get better clearance to feel around on that clip. There should be a lock, and that's what we're going to want to release, and then we can plug in our extension harness. Okay, this is one of those things. If you were here, maybe you could see it. You're not, so I don't know if you'll be able to. But I have a mirror up here, and I need two hands really to make this happen. Oh Lord. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't think this is going to work well in terms of showcasing anything. But if it would, and you could see through that mirror, which will probably never focus, you would see the clip and the lock. I've located it. If I get in weird positions, I can see it. The mirror doesn't want to stay up for you. And I can't really get my hand. The right hand's filthy. It's kind of clean. But we have that clip off. That's where that was. That bolt was very long. Also had a lock patch on it. But if I were to, where is it? Grab this thing and trace it up and just pull. I've got the mirror in the way now. Right where my fingers are that you still can't see. That's where that extension harness is, and this is just a deal that if there's another person here to film, it would probably work, but with me alone, it's not. I cannot. This is just in such a stupid location that's impossible to reach. I can't get a camera in here and show it to you. Maybe if I had like a cell phone or something, or I don't know, I'll try to maybe get a picture, but it's just not going to happen. I can't even get the camera out of here now, so basically you have to take this loomed deal and just trace it up and feel, and you'll find it, and I'll just show it to you when I get it out. Clutch. Okay, so Right before I ran in and heated up some pizza, we made a monumental breakthrough over here. It's this. If you're thinking, hey, this is the driver's side, you would be correct, because that's the passenger side. This O2 sensor, the factory Upstream's usually been hanging on the other side of the transmission pen, and now it's not. And that's because right here, if you look up there, I think you can finally see the red clip. Or I'm going to try to take this little Braun. You see the red clip right there that I'm tapping? That's the lock. That is the lock. I was able to get it off. I don't know, there's kind of a groove on the bottom. I'll show you when I get this thing out of here. I don't know if that's like latched on to some connector up there. I cannot see the top to tell you, but I can tell you that it turns out it's really hard to feel where you're at on the transmission. And I got to thinking, as weird as a position as I was in, I thought, you know, I think I actually am closer to the driver's side. And something I did broke this free, and I could care less. It's this side down there that I've lifted off of that linkage. There's a little slot. I assume it must catch on something, but I mean, we'll never know. I can't see up there. It's just a complete nightmare. But we need to pull this tab back, then we can press. That'll free this O2 sensor. And again, if you're recollecting back, this black boot that we took off, I guess that really would give you a straight shot if you have an earlier truck that doesn't have this style of a panel. So with that said, I'm going to quit rambling. I would love to do this with you, but I just, you know, I'm limited to 2 hands currently. So I'm going to try to get, I've brought over a couple of picks. And if I can't do that, I'll try to pull on them with some pliers, but there's kind of like a detent on each side. If you can get that, then you can press down. We should be able to free this thing. So that's what I'll work towards, and I'll show you the finished result. Oh, the sweet sound of success that you didn't get to experience. So right there, the little 90-degree pick that's greasy. Got it caught in, just barely applied pressure. It came on down. I was super stoked because I was going to have a hard time holding that and pulling without stabbing myself at least. Also, this Astro, like the base just doesn't swivel quite right. It kicks out, but it never goes like 90 degrees, you know, to either side. That's where this Braun came in. Again, the battery life's not great, but sometimes it gets itself contorted to be an awesome little assistant. So, I don't know that I can one-hand this. I'm gonna try. I think I'm going to have to get my other hand free. Again, if you weren't 4-wheel drive, this would be easy. If you didn't have a header collector, it would help. Once again, the truck was singing, and what it was singing was the sound of suction as this thing broke free. So, kept my hand in place there for you, even though we don't currently plan to reuse this O2 sensor. Try not to drop it, try not to shock it. You've got a ceramic shell, and if we can just kind of manhandle it like this, we're home free. But now up there in the yellow, I think you can kind of make it out, that neon green, neon yellow color. That's where we're going to plug, hopefully, our extension harness. The way we're going to check that before we get to the truck is with this on the workbench. So I'm going to slide out of here again carefully, not hitting the O2 sensor on anything. And, yeah, that little nightmare is almost over, so stay tuned and we'll check this thing out. Alright, a little concerning. This is NTK, I labeled it Upstream, it's 23139. And the thing concerning about it, I don't remember opening it up, but it was opened. What I mean by that is like the plastic bag, or is it this part right here, should be like over and attached, and it was not, so that's a little alarming. Here I've got the Downstream O2 sensor. It's behind there. It would be 23140. That gives you a look at the lock on this one. What I'm going to do now is take it right down here, and hopefully you can tell the difference. This guy is factory, never changed, and the cool thing, I'm not sure that you'll be able to see it. I guess we'll try. We'll zoom in all the way for you. This is actually an NTK part, so this is an NTK Japan. It has a really nice, I'm a big fan of this style of braided cover. This one just has like the heat resistant, heat shrink almost, if you will. Let's pan back out so you can see that. Obviously, a couple of things. Number one, you got a plastic cap. We can tell that there's anti-seize on there. We're just going to roll with what they have. You do not have to tighten these very tight. Okay, this isn't something that you gotta like bust out a flare nut wrench or go get your stupid trash sockets that never work and flex and spread if they can still fit this. if you just spin this in by hand and then put a wrench over it and turn it barely like a half of a turn, you're golden. That's it. That's all that you ever have to do. And no one ever really does that. That's why these are always a pain in the butt. But that said, that's what we're going to do here. I'll double check the size on it. I think we should be able to still fit a 7/8. Maybe we can get like a standard other wrench on it. Just, combination open end. And then over here, note that there's not a lock, okay? The grid is there for the lock, but there's not one. See that sort of H pattern? These tracks are where the lock would be. We've got the yellow, we've got the 4-pin. If I grab the factory one now, we've got the 4-pin, we've got that pattern, but we've got the lock on this one. I don't know if we're supposed to transfer that over or just roll with this one. So I'm going to grab this and take you over to the bin. All right, so not the greatest setup here camera-wise, but there's a bunch of junk in the floor, and this is the best I'm going to do right now because it's late, but this is what we've got going. From Casper's, we've got our extension harness. This is, again, CEI 109209. Cool thing, if you did not know, they're actually located in Colorado, made in Colorado, and if we go by the tag here that we want to take off, it's going to be date, I guess they made this one, is going to be February 10th of 2022, so cool stuff there. Again, right here, our factory, this is an NTK piece, obviously, you can tell, it's heavily used, 20 plus years, and we've got the red locking clip. There's a look at the business end. Brand new part number, which once more is NTK's 23139. That's going to be our Upstream. This is applicable to my truck. Yours might vary, but Rock Auto Summit, if you read the part descriptions, should be okay. We're going to have to take the cap off when we get to the vehicle, thread it in, again, half of a turn. But look, there's no lock. However, our setup would be, this is our O2 sensor, and basically this harness is going to give the effect of extending this. So this end plugs into the factory connector where this typically would, and that's accomplished by having this end right here plug in to this one. So again, there's no catch. I've test fitted this and I was happy with it, but there's no red lock, so listen close for the click. It's a really good fit. I don't think it's coming undone. And then when I press down, listen for the suction. I'll do it one more time. I'm going to try to ease it out so you can hear it. Are you ready? Yeah, it's not as satisfying as when you just do it, but that's because I was trying to baby it. But this is essentially what we're going to have. We're going to go from roughly 12-inch. With a 12-inch extension, we're going to be at 2 foot, and that's going to allow me to have this connected way up on top of the transmission and this drop down, and we can just coil up the slack and cable tie it. And then in the future, should we have to replace the O2 sensor or want to replace the O2 sensor, it's super easy to do because we can get to it and we don't have to spend a ton of time and effort and question why engineers do things the way they do. We can just cut a cable tie, have it drop down, and go to town. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So once more, NTK, which in the case of this truck, factory. This is our Upstream 23139 and the 12-inch extension, which currently looks like it's going to work. So we'll have to make sure that side plugs into the factory, but that's your part number right there. So we're going to bundle this up. Never throw these away. You might need them. You never know. Worst comes to worst, you've got a perfectly good harness you could come in. You don't really want to solder this. It's interesting stuff with O2 sensors, but the wire braid, all sorts of harvestable parts off of this thing, so we're going to go ahead and keep that in check. And again, if we ever do want the lock, we'll have it, but I think I'm pretty confident with this. I don't envision it coming out, especially where it's located, and the fact that we didn't have issues across 20 years. Could come back to bite me, I don't know, but if in the event that happens, we'll have this that we can harvest and make use of. So I'm going to get back under the truck, plug all this stuff in, and kind of mount it up. Just in the event someone asks, or anyone's curious, you're basically looking at 15 inches on the factory piece and this replacement from NTK. So from the ends here that are exposed all the way up, you basically run out of the ruler, and then you have roughly 3 inches to the termination of the harness. So overall length minus the sensor body itself, roughly 15 inches. So with that 12-inch extension, we're sitting at 27. Alright, so let me try to walk you through this. Number one, we've got our brand new O2 sensor installed. Kind of see it there. Going over this way, That back thing, this kind of worn, tan, rugged looking deal, that's the factory Downstream. Our Upstream is now here. Why? Because we've routed it through this mess. You can see the connection right there. I'll get it to focus for you. That is the factory plug where you kind of have the multicolors and the yellow tag. The next thing with the convoluted tubing, that is our extension harness. The extension harness simply runs kind of towards the back of the transmission and around. And I'm going to now cable tie to the grommet thing. Oh man, this is all just a shadowy mess with all these lights, but there's the Downstream. If you just trace that up, there's a plastic connector that sort of divides two convoluted tubing runs. I'm just going to cable tie with that, and that'll keep it up out of the way. Keep in mind, what you're not seeing here is what's invisible because it's not in, which is the exhaust. We're going to have a straight run of 3-inch going down through here, so we should be safe anyway, but this is just going to make sure that we're 100% away from the sources of heat. We don't want to burn through that. I've gone ahead already. Ran over a wrench. I was going to try to use the Stavilla 22, and I just couldn't get it. Obviously, that Gador 7/8, there's just no space, so I had to resort back to that little O2 socket. Once again, on the Capri breaker bar. I would love to have like some stubby wrenches in a larger size. That would have been kind of the hot ticket there, but that pretty much wraps this part up. I cannot do the Downstream in any way, shape, or form until we have the exhaust in. This wouldn't be a very long video if we wouldn't have taken that shifter boot out, but I feel like that needs to stay in because somebody's going to do the same thing I did, and if I can prevent you from wasting your time, I've done you a great service. For everyone else, it's just hilarious, and for people, I guess, that have 97 under or whatever year they cut that off, you're like, wow, my truck's awesome. But yeah, I like the setup they did there, and I can see how you could go straight down to it. You just cannot on an O1, at least this truck. So, like I said, if you got a 98, a 99, a 2000, and you can or can't, leave a comment because you will inevitably help someone out a ton. That's not the easiest thing. It's not difficult. It's just kind of time-consuming and a pain in the butt to get that shift boot out of there. So, it's frivolous. It's pointless on this truck. So, like I said, I've also run that quarter bolt back in there with our 7/16 Koken. Got that back in, and we're going to cable tie this. That's in place. I think we're going to be pretty much home free again. Not much happened here, but this is a pain in the butt. If you could see this, if you could access it, it would be super simple. It's just the inaccessible nature that kind of kills this part of the project. So coming up, I don't know the order we're going to do them, but the exhaust will be going on. We'll do the Downstream O2, some solution for that. Also, kind of what I'm thinking you might see next, I'll either jump back to the backup camera since I've gotten some stuff for that, or we're going to drop the tank. We'll go into that when we get to that, but that's kind of where we're at. So I'm going to quit rambling, and yeah, this is, if you have access to these things, it's super easy. If you don't, it's a pain in the butt. And your truck, whether it's, you know, an automatic, a manual, four-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive, lifted, not lifted, headers, not headers, everything ties in to making this even more or less of a pain in the butt. So I'm going to get everything cable tied up out of the way, and then we'll be ready to start tomorrow with a brand new project. So with that said, I hope this helped you out. I hope you learned a little something, laughed along the way, depending on your situation. Maybe you're like, yeah, I'm not the only one that tried to take that boot off and found out you couldn't. But like I said, insights on that, provide them if you would. It will help somebody out. As long as we help like one or two people, we're doing something right. But LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. Ram Revival, we're still going strong here, getting close, definitely in the downhill run. But ultimate takeaway here is don't take that off because you cannot access it. If this was like an early truck that had the rubber boot, that would have been super awesome. Another thing I think I'm going to do off camera is I never put the starter back on when we did the headers. So before I go in tonight, I'm going to throw that starter back up. So that said, thanks for watching, I'll catch you back for more action from the Ram Revival. Oh, I'm so happy right now. So I'm trying to get the starter in and it's not going well, right? And I'm constantly hitting the light. It's that little tab up there with the fuel lines. I think you can kind of see it. But I've got to get you over here. This light that I kept accidentally knocking into the wrong position. I felt around in here so long for that bolt. Just hit my head on the front axle. Geez. Okay. I don't have much time on this card. Right here. Okay. Here. Do you hear it? It's the bolt. I gotta get you over here. Just get out from under this whole truck. Dodge things on the creeper. It's the bolt. So we know it's okay. I know it's not focused. My hands are covered in grease now, but I found it. It's not in the transmission. It's not in the collectors where it's going to rattle. It was just sitting there on that brace that goes from the engine to the transmission. Sweet rewards of the late night. Just super, super ecstatic about that. So anyway, I'm going to go try to deal with that stupid clamp and get the starter in, but thank goodness that bolt was found. That's just peace of mind. So I'll end it off on that note. I also remembered there were a couple of clips from the header video that like got corrupted and didn't transfer and then magically recovered. I think I'll have those in this video, but not much action. My apologies, but this was worth it right here.